Palumbo Show with your host, Jimmy Palumbo. That's right, Jimmy Palumbo here live, saying my name 3 times because no one else does. We are live from the downtown Mawa studios here, otherwise known as Jimmy's Kitchen. That's right. We have, of course, behind the glass, your friend and mine, someone who's doing like 75 podcasts, who has completely forgotten about the aging veteran Jimmy Palumbo.
That is
who's
not
still
true.
getting,
This is the second straight
yes,
week I've made it here, bro. I'm on a,
yeah, which
I'm
is
on a run.
I mean, you're like Lou Gehrig now. Your friend and mine behind the glass, Mister Chris Mojo App Gucci, live from Chop Sports in downtown Matawan.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. It looks like I'm in New York City, but I am in fact in Matawan. You like the
right.
special effects we got going on here at Chop Studios?
Yes, and I do feel for you a little bit for really one reason. You live in the tri-state area. And in the tri-state area, there's a tons of Giant and Jet fans, and you're a huge Packer fan, and the Packers have been good since you were 12. And now all of a sudden the Packers lost to the Giants and Jets in consecutive weekends. But, when the schedule came out, we should have laughed at that. Like, if I were you, I would have been like, oh, this is a nightmare. Because if you play the Giants in September and you lose, and then the Packers play the Jets, say, in November.
What's better than losing to both those teams is being like over 2-score favorites in both of them. It was over a touchdown favorite in both games and back to back. Not only did we lose, we lost in a bad way both times where it was like,
I agree.
It wasn't like they got away and we should have won. No, we got thoroughly our asses kicked.
Yeah, and also it's like, and listen, if the Packers lost 2 in a row, you'd be pissed anyway. But now you got to hear, Vinny from Queens and jerk-offs like me. But listen, this is show number 84. We do counseling on the show. So what we do is when I know Chris is down, and I counsel him through. I'll get him through the storm because I'm a Rutgers fan. So I consider myself, what I would like to call, what am I? As a Rutgers fan,
I would say you're a grizzled loser.
Better of losing. Yeah. Now, of course, I was about to have a guest, and I don't know where he went. So we're gonna have a fun time.
It's always a wild ride here.
Yes, but listen, this is show number 84. Of course, we'll try to get right to it. Now, of course, 84. I thought 84 was going to be some bigger name. I'm always, I'll tell you, one of the things I love about at this segment, it's show 84. We talk about numbers, who wore 84. And I always think, there's going to be like 100 guys. And all of a sudden, like, it's not that many as much as I thought. Of course, you still got, arguably you could argue that one of the greatest players of all time, really, Randy Moss. Then there's Joey Galloway. Then you got your lousy Giants, Joe Juravicius, Aaron Pierce, currently David Sills, who I love. I don't know where this guy came from. All of a sudden, he's catching balls because Daniel Jones has no one to throw to. And you got Andre Reed. I was going to actually do, but I couldn't do it. I was going to do another Dallas Cowboy tight end, Jay Novacek, because what's the other Dallas Cowboy tight end who's great? Witten. To me, me and my brother.
Is it you have to at least rectify the situation? That
terrible.
Jimmy knows it's not James Witten, and I take full responsibility for.
Yes, you were not there.
Bailing on
you
that
were not
show.
there. Yes, but me and my brother are convinced that Witten and Novacek are actually the same person because it seemed like Novacek was there, but basically what it was is there was a generic term. They're both. If you Google Jay Novacek and Witten, what comes up is always wide open Dallas Cowboy tight end. So if you Google that, those two players come up because I swear to God, what do you get, two games a year? It seemed to me in the course of, I'm going to say about 40 Dallas Cowboy Giant games, Jay Novacek and Witten were open on every play. And I was going to do Jay Novacek, but I just didn't have the heart. And I guess he's not a Hall of Famer, is he, Jay?
No, not even close. Not even close.
He had some big years in there, though.
It wasn't even that he had big years. He had big postseasons too, and they won a lot.
Yeah,
he was just a part of one of those great teams.
Yeah, he was open and he killed the Giants. But I'm going to go with the football Giants are on the air from 1983 to 1989. Tight end Zeke Mowat. Maybe you do remember him. We still love everyone would yell out Zeke. He was such a flawed player, but he was a Parcells guy who blocked unbelievably. No one ever got around him. He didn't catch many balls. Like I said, he played from the Giants from 83 to 89. He caught a TD pass in the Super Bowl. Can't take that away from him. And his best season was 84. He had 48 catches, 6 touchdowns. I mean, it's hard to compare 1984 to today because guys do that in 3 games now. But back then, that was a decent blocking tight end kind of guy with, because the reason why he caught the touchdown probably was they didn't cover him because he didn't catch anything. And they were like, hey, if we're going to get beat by Zeke Mowat, go ahead. And that's what he was. But fans always liked him. Florida State grad, came to the Giants. Like I said, he played, then he went to New England, then came back to the Giants, and actually played pretty well his last year with the Giants. So I decided to go with number 84 in my prime time of going to Giant games. Number 84, Zeke Mowat on the Jimmy Palumbo Show. Now, Chris, who do you have?
Mine is a layup. Mine is a layup because we've actually brought him up because you mistakenly thought he was number 80. You thought he was number 80 on the Packers, but he was number 84. I think he's probably the best wide receiver in history of the NFL, not going to make the Hall of Fame because of his career was cut short. But they're talking like he might get in now, and I doubt it. But Sterling Sharp, I mean, the guy, he put up crazy numbers before receivers were doing it. He was the first receiver to ever have 100 catches in a season, and now everyone does. But, yeah, Sterling Sharp, brother of Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharp and Green Bay Packer great.
Okay. Well, see, to me, Sterling and Shannon are the same player. Again, so the tone of this is we bring in up players who most guys over 50 think was the same guy. So I'll leave it at that. But, okay, you're going to go with Sterling Sharp, which I give their parents credit for some nice names, Sterling and Shannon. That's pretty cool. So, all right, listen. All right, Sterling Sharp and, of course, Zeke Mowat. Now, please don't send me a text saying, why didn't you go with some star or something like that? That's not the point of this. Me and Chris like to, sometimes we'll do a big name like Sterling Sharp and Lawrence Taylor and Reggie and all that stuff. But sometimes we do, Ernest Gray and Zeke Mowat because it's funny to us, so we do it. But all right, well, listen, I am totally killing it with Patreon now, killing it. I held steady with 13 Patreon members for about 2 months. And now, dude, explosion going on here at Shea. I am up to 14 Patreon members. I added one. That's right, 14, which is now I have a new segment because eventually at 99, this is going to end with the numbers. Now it's every number of Patreon. Number 14 is Lou Piniella because he wore number 14 with the Yankees.
So and you're just going to recycle all the same guys.
Yes.
And we're up to 84. When did you graduate?
84. Zeke Mowat. If I ever get to 84 Patreon members, that'd be wonderful. But we could be doing Zeke Mowat in 2 weeks if things go my way. But I always like to rattle off my Patreon members.
You could also be doing A-Rod. You got 14 now, Lou Piniella, right?
No, but we went.
You could be doing A-Rod next week and doing going backwards.
If I drop one drops out, we have to go back. So that's, you never know. We could be down in the Yankee retired numbers very shortly. But here are my Patreon members. Alex Stetsenna, who's from Ramsey, New Jersey, great keyboardist. My sister, Mary Eileen Riccardi, and a huge fan of mine and my sister. Mike DeMosi, Big George DeMo, getting it done. My mom, Eileen Palumbo, who supports me in more ways than one. My cousin, Joey Palumbo, getting involved here. Big Giant fan. He knows exactly who Zeke Mowat is. Rob Pastor, an old Kappa Sig buddy of mine. Love to have him. See him at Rutgers games. James Kanowitz, my horrific didn't get back to me website guy. I'm totally giving him shit, but that's because I found that his entire family got COVID and hospitalizations. He's all over the place. I love James. He has a killer podcast on Fletch, the Fletchcast. Go check that out. He's a supporter. My nephew, Jimmy Riccardi, named after me, and also a big Giancarlo Stanton fan. Gotta love that. My other nephew, John Henry Riccardi, getting involved, Penn State grad, working in LA in the business of show with the company that produced the movie. He's going to love it. The movie with the blind Coda. So he's working there for the head guy who owns it. That's cool. Eric Palumbo, my other nephew, my first nephew, and my godchild, who comes in from downtown Austin, Texas. He works in the computer industry. Michael Caprio, my second baseman, who is also owner of cornholelevel.com, which I'll hear about in a minute. My brother, Frank Palumbo, who is I love him, and he helps me out very much. He superseded, I won't tell you the amount, but he decided to go a little above and beyond the standard tiers of Patreon. I'll leave it at that. So that's a very good thing. And then there's my buddy Daryl Clark, who's really an internet friend, or not really. I mean, I met him through the internet with Beer League and stuff. As soon as I get that poster signed, bro, I'll get it down to you. I promise. I'm going to see Artie maybe next week. And also my new Lou Pinella, number 14, coming in, Greg Casalino, my old buddy from Colonia High School. Also, we were roommates at Rutgers. Greg Casalino, or otherwise known, he's probably going to get mad at me for this, and I won't do it next week. Greg Miller, he decided to change his names. He dabbles in showbiz and different things with his kids. His kids are awesome. They're talented and they're smart. That's really cool. But he decided to hop into Patreon, so I decided to give that a good mention. And please, everybody, you got to go on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the stuff. All that support is huge. I got to bring this up right away. I got a big show this Friday and Saturday at the Comedy Co. from downtown Springfield, New Jersey, at Scotty's Steakhouse. I'm headlining. It's a regular comedy club. It's a cool place to see a show. You got to trust me on this. It's one of those low ceiling, old school comedy clubs, like has that 80s feel to it. Comics love it. It's a cool room. The show will be good. Hopefully I'll be good, but the other comics will be good. And please, the number's 973-376-3840, 973-376-3840, the Comedy Cove. Get your tickets there Friday, Saturday night at 9 p.m. Should be a good show. Or go online. I'm going to be posting links all week. So now that I can take a breath here, take a sip of my coffee there, Chris, we got to discuss the weight problem.
The weight problem.
And we all know.
I'm glad you're done calling it the weight situation, because it's definitely not a situation anymore.
Well, yes and no. Let me finish. I admit, just like anything else, I am struggling with the weight thing. And this weight thing is, when you're struggling with something, what do? Have somebody sponsor it. That's right. The weight issue problem situation is sponsored by your friend and mine, Absolute Eyewear. That's right. 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326-3937 or 732-326
eyes.
There you go. Chris is wide awake. He didn't have his coffee yet. It's my good friends, Craig and Janine Michaud, brother and sister. They're licensed opticians. They got everything there. Eyewear, sunglasses, safety glasses, sports glasses, glasses for the kids are getting involved, contacts, eye exams, everything's done on site. Fans are going crazy there. $100 off a complete pair of glasses if you mention this show. They're a big-time supporter of Chop Sports as well as the Jimmy Palumbo Show, and they have many kinds of glasses there. Your attention, please. All rise. Now available at Absolute Eyewear, Ray-Ban, Coach, Ralph Lauren, Jimmy Choo, Silhouette, Michael Kors, Vogue, Maui Jim, Costa Del Mar, and Oakley, not ex-Nick, Charles Oakley. I thought I did a much better Bob Shepard there. I really took some time with that, Chris. Did you appreciate that?
I do appreciate it. And you usually, I wouldn't say you rush it, but towards the end, It's like a little mix of Jimmy Palumbo and Bob Shepard,
I get it.
Right?
That's okay. And listen, because I really am Bob Shepard. Like if I was one of those Buddhists or whatever that believes in like afterlife weird stuff, I would have no problem becoming Bob Shepard. I wish I did have that job. And they're open 5 days a week. And Chris, they're closed on Sundays. Why?
Because of football Sunday, and the New York Giants are 5-1 now. So
yes, and they're closed on Wednesday. Why?
Because obviously softball day.
There you go. So go see them. Tell them I sent you. We love them, and thanks, Johnny and Craig. Even though Craig really doesn't listen to the show anymore, jerk off. So that's another thing. But I love calling the owner a jerk off. But when you leave there, you don't feel like a jerk off. Absolute Eyewear, Woodbridge, New Jersey. That's my long ad that I like to do. Now, let's get to my weight loss, and I'll be brief. Now, last week I came in at 199. I was a little disgusted with myself. But this week, now, I lost a pound. I came in at 198. Now, I know, listen, when you're a bad weight-losing team, when you're a bad program, when you're the Rutgers of weight loss, you get a first down, you have to cheer. I lost a pound. I played some pickleball this week. I'm doing 11,000 steps a day at least. That's helping. I had some shitty nights in there, though, where I got caught. I have a rough week with stand-up shows coming up. I'm doing 3 shows this weekend. That could be problematic. Nothing but chicken wings and mozzarella sticks at those places. But I'm going to try to hold.
You start packing a lunch, a little packing a meal with your little brown bag.
I got to start doing it. But I lost a pound, and I got to take it. So I came in at 198. So I'm on my way, even though it's a Piper Cub. And that's it. All right, let's get to a couple of sports things. Obviously, Rutgers had a bye week. Now, look, I was down on Rutgers, miserable, but I started reading crap online. But you know what? The fans are too hard on Shiano. We lost 2 rough games to Iowa and Nebraska, but we usually get blown out by those teams. And I've decided that I looked at everything. I think some of the teams that they play that everybody says, oh, we're not going to win. I watched them the last 2 weeks. They're not that good. We play Indiana this week, homecoming. I don't think Maryland's that good. The QB might be hurt. Now, when I say that good, I'm not saying they're better. They're better than us. But these games are winnable, in my opinion. I don't think Minnesota is what everybody said they were going to be. I don't think Michigan State's all that good. And listen, I think they're just average teams that aren't that great in down years for their programs. And I still predict that the Scarlet McKnights will finish 6-6. All their quarterbacks are healthy. They'll all be in the game. And I think this is the first year in about 100 years where Rutgers, for the first time, actually improves from week 6 to week 12. All the pieces are there to improve. And if they improve, and we're playing the teams that I think are a little shady, 6-6.
What's their record right now?
3-3. Now, they have 6 games.
I think Maryland's offense is better than you think, too.
Yeah, they definitely are. But what's his name might be hurt. So that's
true. They're running the ball well, though.
And but they don't have an offensive line, and our defense is pretty good. Nebraska put up 37 points last week. So, I mean, I just think Michigan State's not. I just think it's possible. Now, the 2 losses, of course, are going to be Michigan and Penn State. The Michigan game, they're just like Ohio State. They're big, fat, strong, tall. I just don't think we go win that game. Anyway, so I'm predicting 6-6 for the Giants. For Rutgers. But we got to get to my 5-1 New York Giants. I mean, this is the most fun. And my guest coming on in a few minutes is a Giant fan as well. Listen, the Giants are so flawed, but I remember other years in the last, say, 8, where I thought the Giants they were 1-4 a couple of years, or 0-4 one year, 0-5. Where I was like, you know what? We really should have been 3-2. We're better than 0-5. This is the year where it's like, you know what? The referee calls Baltimore Ravens. I mean, if it wasn't Harbaugh and he wasn't there for 100 years, that was a fireable game, I think. I thought his play calling was lousy. They made mistakes. But the Giants, they have a new regime, a new GM, a new culture in the clubhouse. And listen, if Daniel Jones had an all-pro wide receiver, he would be a top 4 quarterback in the league statistically this year. He throws to no one. They got David Sills running around. You got these guys that are awful wide receivers. And he gets it done. He's more than a game manager. He gets it done. He's a tough kid. I don't know if they should sign him, because when you get into re-signing your quarterback, and you guys touch on this on your show all the time, Chris, you get into this 4-year, $90 million. I don't know about that. All I know is Daniel Jones is not the issue with the Giants. Not.
Put it this way, you're actually in a fortunate situation with Daniel Jones because it took really long to develop. So he's not going to demand this massive second deal that most quarterbacks would. So you could probably get him on like an extension of a rookie deal in essence, because he was a 6th pick. So he's getting paid a lot in terms of what a rookie would get. You can't sign him for
5. You can't give him 5 years.
I don't believe they will. I think you might see a very it's going to be tough. There'll probably be a 4-year deal, but there will be realistic outs for the Giants after the 3rd. Right. So meaning if they really want to get rid of him after 3 years, they could.
The bottom line is Daniel Jones, and they're fun to watch. It's finally nice to Thibodeau get in on a play, even though you really didn't hear his name the whole game.
Daniel Jones will be the Giants starter next year. They're playing themselves out of a high draft pick as well. So it's not like they're going to be able to pick one of these studs.
It's going to be nobody. I agree. They just seem to me, they seem well coached, organized. There seems to be a philosophy, a culture change, all that stuff. You know what's great too? And this is for all my Giant fans. We don't have to watch the red zone anymore. We don't have to hear about the Cowboys and Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. We get to watch our game. And because the Giants have sucked, they're on at 1 o'clock. You enjoy yourself. Beautiful day. You sit behind a couch and you get to watch the whole Giant game without going to the red. I haven't watched the red zone once this year. And once the Giants win, I go out. I'm done. My work is done.
You sound like
great.
You haven't been here in quite a while right now, and it's showing. Because you should know better. You should know better. You might be back on the red zone in 2 weeks.
Well,
just be careful.
That's not what I said, though. I said I haven't watched the red zone.
Okay.
I didn't say I wasn't going to. Did I say I'm never going to watch the red zone again? Believe you me. First of all, but here's what's great about being 5-1 in the awful NFL, which the awful league that it is, and last night's game. Every argument that I make against the NFL every week is proven that I'm right. Last night's game was atrocious. And you know what? The Giants can lose 4 in a row. They'll be 5-5 and totally well alive for a wild card game. And that's all you really want. But listen, my Giants, I love them. Cowboys lost. They got smoked. Packers, I don't hate the Packers. I just do because you're a Packer fan. And the Jets won. Listen, my Jets, my Jets. Let me rephrase. The Jets, 4-2. They're fun. So, like I told you, I know you started a sports company. Giants and Jets, you started at a good time because the Giants and Jets stunk. But, if the Giants and Jets, if they both go like 11-5 or 12-5, whatever you call it, or God forbid, things like fantasy and other teams, you're not going to hear about the Chiefs and Mahomes. It's going to be Giants, Jets, baby, which is fun because they've stunk for so long. But after a while, like Met fans, the Jets will irritate me. And I'll start to hate the Jets by week 12. But listen, they're playing well. The Jets and Giants have been so bad teams. So it's fun. Now, let's get to my Yankees. Crazy week. Really weird. They just blew the other games. They played well to get to game 5. The rain thing yesterday, everybody's bashing the Major League Baseball, and I'm sure you have thoughts on it. But they tried to get the game in. The weather report. Listen. Where I was working last night, everybody had their phones out. Everyone said around 9:15 it'll clear up, and then really another band of rain came through, and that was it. They tried to get the game in. I don't really blame. I just don't blame. They tried, and it didn't work out. Mother Nature said, go fuck yourself. So that's it. Now today, 4:00. Game 5, I don't know really. I think Cortez. I don't know. All I know is if the Cleveland closer is pitching in the bottom of the 9th and the Guardians are up by a run, we ain't hitting that guy. No way. So my thing is we got to be up 4-2, 5-3, 5-1, get a big lead. If the Yankees are down 4-3 in the 8th, they'll pitch that guy for 2 innings. I don't think we're going to get on base against him. That's my opinion. He's got that Mariano. He's not as good as Mariano, but with our lousy hitters at 225, and I will predict my boy, number 27 for the New York Yankees, Giancarlo Stanton, will take us to the next round. Which does the Houston game start like at 1 hour after the Yankee game? Is that what it's so the Yankee game's at 4. The Houston
tomorrow.
I thought they play like at 9 o'clock tonight. They have to fly to Houston and whoever wins.
Yeah, but still, it sucks to have one day, Yeah.
So that's it on that. Also, so I predict Giancarlo and the Yankees will win, but I say that just as a fan. Also, the Knicks start on Wednesday, and that is very exciting because anybody that's into October, November, December basketball is a creep. But I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I thought they were going to be great last year. I was all excited. And then Vegas came out with that low number. I went, uh-oh, Vegas is never on. This year, I read in the paper that some people think they're going to be like 42-40. I don't know how good the Knicks are going to be, but they got Brunson. I'm just going to watch as a just a fan, a generic fan, and I'm going to totally enjoy it. And that's that. Look at that. Mayhem going on with my set. Production, crew, how great is that? Look at you. Yours looks much better. Let me see if I could just reach behind me. It's going to be great. What if I had no pants on? I don't even know how to do this.
You're doing the Zoom special, bro.
I can't do it. We're live here in front of downtown. I feel like I'm doing my show from Fort Myers 2 weeks ago. That might be the funniest thing I've said in a month. Hang on a second. We're live, and we're gonna change the set around. This is gonna be like the Newlywed Game. Another shitty joke. That's funny. Jeff Cantor, you're gonna have it. I hope you're backing up your material right now.
We're gonna get a good look at Jimmy's ass now, though. That's the idea.
How's that?
It wasn't so bad. So bad. We didn't even get to see her ass either. We thought we would get a little bit of crap.
Yes, my ass is the best ass in showbiz. All right. Well, we are moments away from. Of course, I'm looking for all my information, and of course, it's right here. Here we go. And it's time for cornholelevel.com. That's right, my sponsor. Now, Cornhole Level also sponsors my studio, and I'll be talking to them about that. And cornholelevel.com. Listen, Chris, you've played cornhole before, and you've been to a party when the guy's cornhole board is not level, and it's shitty. But what do? You whip out your cornhole leveler at cornholelevel.com. And you know what? The board is level. It makes for a perfect, accurate cornhole board. It does it this way, that way, this way, all that. It gets it ready to go for live tournaments in your backyard when you're drinking beer in the most dumbest game on the history of the planet besides pickleball. And you got to go to cornholelevel.com. 20% off if you say JP Sports or Chop Sports. This thing is awesome. It's owned by my friend Michael Caprio, who's my second baseman. And you got to go check this thing out. It's awesome. It's a little clip, perfect for the holidays. If you know someone who's into cornhole, you probably really don't like them anyway. But if you really want to give them a gift, your neighbor who plays cornhole, you buy these things, you clip it on the board. It totally balances the board perfectly. It's an awesome little thing. It actually works. And it's recommended by the Jimmy Palumbo Show. So go to cornholelevel.com, and Cornhole Level sponsors one of my favorite segments of the show. I've been saying for years, the NFL stinks, the games stink, the refs are the stars of the league. And here we go. Week 6. All right. Buffalo Bills upgraded to very good. New York Jets, very good. I had to put the Jets in very good because this may not last. So they beat the Packers to bust your balls.
All right. We get it. We get it.
I know. You're man.
I'm over it. I'm over it.
I'll lay off the Packers, especially when the Packers have a really high draft pick next year. Then we have Miami Dolphins stink. New England Patriots, I'm going to put as average. They're close to being stink again. Baltimore Ravens average. The Bengals average. The Browns and Steelers, they both stink. Those teams stink. Tennessee Titans average. The Colts are average. The Jaguars stink. The Texans stink. Kansas City Chiefs, only good. They've been downgraded for a while. The Chargers are average. Oh, watching that game yesterday. Broncos stink. The Raiders stink. Back to the NFC East. We got the Philadelphia Eagles, probably the best team in the league. They're at very good. The New York Giants, I got to do it. Very good for one more week. All my Jets and Giants have a little tag. It says temporary in parentheses. They're temporarily very good. Dallas Cowboys average. I came close to putting him in the stinks list, but I think the Eagles are good. Washington stinks. The Vikings, hey, 5-1, just like the Giants. They're very good. Packers, Bears, and Lions stink. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers average. The Falcons average. Saints stink. Panthers stink. 49ers average. Rams average. And the Seahawks and Cardinals, they all no. Seahawks are average. I came so close to making them stink. And the Cardinals stink. So I have 14 stinks, 12 average, 1 good. That's the least of all time. And for a record of all time, 5 very good teams in the NFL, which is mind-boggling, up from 3 from last week. But I still think that'll change probably by next week. And for you Giant fans out there that are already counting the Jacksonville game as a win, calm down. Okay,
let's just watch I don't know why
game.
The Giants are getting points.
It's like the Giant fans are like we're getting laid for the first time, so we're like, you're not talking to your parents. You're coming home late.
If you go all over Twitter, on Twitter, it's like you see BetMGM and then all the Caesar sports books. They're saying Giants. they're talking about, it's literally the sports books putting out ads saying the Giants are getting points this week, so they're begging people, literally, literally begging people to take.
Here comes the big. I agree. I'm just gonna watch the games. I'm not gonna predict anything, but you know what? I have today a very, 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 very special guest. He's an actor. His name, he actually lives in my town as well. His name is your friend and mine. Let's give it up for the fabulous Jeffrey Cantor, who's now only giving my back. Are you urinating?
I saw you do that, Jimmy. So I thought that's what you're supposed to do on your podcast.
Okay, you see that? See that? You're just ahead of the curve. I love that you put on that shitty Giant hat. That's even better. I've watched games with you when you wore that hat. We were at Brady's. That was the game, the Cowboy game. We got beat. We were so pissed. Remember about 3 years ago? But you're wearing the Giant cap. You're a friend of mine, Jeff Cantor. Jeff, welcome. This is Chris Gucci. Say hello. He's my cohort, my behind the glass man. Jeff?
Sorry about your Packers.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple weeks, but
yeah.
It's okay.
So listen, Jeff Cantor is an actor, and you've seen him on tons of TV shows. I actually printed out his IMDb, and
you and my mother. You and my
yes,
mother.
I know.
I will print my IMDb page.
Well, that's true, and plus, I know if anything's available on eBay, my mother buys it if it has my name on it. I'm sure your mother does the same thing.
I don't put things on eBay, but I do.
Yes, you do. Well, your fans do.
I do love that your Patreon page is like your entire family.
Yes, that's great. It shows I have good support right there.
Yes.
And you know what, Jeff? You have enough bookings lately where I'm guessing I might be Thurman Munson next week with a 15 coming in with Jeff Cantor. You would never do it. I know you wouldn't. Maybe I'll try to talk. I don't know if that should be in Vegas this week. Will Jeff Cantor spend $3 a month on Jimmy Palumbo? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
It doesn't, judging by the sound of that reaction, it's a hard no.
Oh, it's a hard no right there. All right, well, listen. First of all, Jeff has been on like 150 TV shows and films. Most recently, he was in shows like Daredevil. We recurred on that, and tons of other shows. We're going to get to all that. But I will say he's got a really cool movie coming up on October 28th. And Jeff, you're going to talk about it. It's called Call Jane, and it stars Elizabeth Banks, Kate Mara, who, by the way, is the owner of the New York Giants. If I do a movie with Kate Mara, I will be fired from the production because the guy's like, Jimmy, you can't. She doesn't want to talk about the Giants. Her grandfather, owns the Giants. How could you not have dialogue? I wouldn't be able to do a scene with her. Like, what if I was doing a scene with Kate Mara? I'd be like, what is your name? I think, hey, Kate, what do you think of the Giants? They're 5-1. I wouldn't be able to. I would lose my Meisner approach. I think even if I was Daniel Day-Lewis, and I had my left foot behind my back and I was doing a scene with Kate Mara, eventually I'd be like, oh, you think they can beat Jacksonville? I'm so sorry. You want coffee or anything? Anyway, so I made this about me. I want to make it about Jeff. But Jeff's in an awesome movie. It's called Call Jane. Elizabeth Banks, Kate Mara, Sigourney Weaver, and takes place in 1968. I think it's going to be a really important historical movie. And Jeff, I would like you to take it away about this awesome movie, which comes out October 28th.
So Call Jane comes out. It's been doing the festival circuit. Phyllis Naj directed it. Her big film Carol won some awards, and the film was at Sundance at the same time as a documentary about this movement. So the Call Jane, or the Jane movement, was the sort of underground railroad for women to get safe abortions in Chicago at a time when abortions were illegal in this country, and set against the backdrop of political upheaval in the United States anyway. And Elizabeth Banks is just remarkable in it. It was shot on film, which is rare. And I finally saw it. It's been doing the festivals. It was in London at the London Film Festival. It was at the Hampton Film Festivals, at the Mill Valley Film Festival. So I saw it for my first time last weekend in East Hampton, and it's just excellent. It's not preachy. It is not morose. And I don't want to give it away, but it tracks one woman who is an upper middle class white woman who is forced to reckon with not being able to, live the life or get what she needs, and around this particular issue. And we track this woman, and she's she's strong and independent and does what she has to do to save her own life. And I would say Elizabeth Banks should certainly be up for an award. Sigourney Weaver is great as usual. Kate Mara is just terrific. This guy Chris Messina plays Elizabeth's husband, and he's spot on with his performance. I mean, he's a great guy, and he does great work. So it was a real privilege to be part of it.
Very cool.
I sort of played the only role that a guy my age could play in the movie anyway, and I play the doctor who gives Elizabeth Banks her diagnosis and prognosis. And so it's around, if you see the trailer, you'll see it's around the information.
I watched the trailer this morning. It seems very proud. As Jeff, I don't get political, or I don't touch these hot topic buttons, but it seems to me, I didn't see the movie yet, and I will as soon as it comes out. I'm interested in it. It's more about someone's journey than it is any kind of, how each individual feels about it, which I think is going to make the movie more powerful. If you feel one way and you watch the movie, you're going to have a feeling. If you feel this way and you watch the movie, and I think that's the kind of thing.
I think you're right. It's definitely not about abortion. It's about a woman's strength in the face of, a society that did not support or champion women. And it, I mean, you don't need to get political. It is certainly a challenge, Roe v. Wade being overturned. This came out, we were filming
the timing of it is good.
We were filming it before it happened. And I remember thinking, like, this movie has to come out now. Like, this movie should come out right now. And
I love watching movies where, 1968, I was only 3 years old, but I love watching movies that when you watch, you go, oh my God, I forgot. Like, you couldn't do that back then.
Right.
It's like you forget that not that long ago. Maybe it is a long time ago.
Well, it wasn't that long ago.
But it's like, wow, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. So I enjoy that kind of thing. I look forward to watching the movie. It's going to be awesome. Go check out Jeff Cantor in Call Jane. Comes out next week. It's going to be fun. 2 weeks. It's going to be fun.
2 weeks.
Now, I got to ask you a couple questions. Okay. First of all, I had Louis Martini on last week. Louis. I have Jeff on this week. These are guys that I consider my colleagues. They both probably have a few more bookings than I have, some more high profile stuff. Jeff, of course, fights the same battle as a actor in his 50s, who's been doing it a long time, knows what he's doing. But, the struggles of being an actor this long, a lot of people, they do acting for 10, 12 years. Things don't go their way. They book some stuff and they end up, becoming an accountant. They move on. But guys like Jeff and Louis and myself we're still in the ring, punching away. And I got to ask, what was and I always love when my friends that book a lot of work. I love you worked on Law and Order. We both worked on similar shows, which is fun. But what was your first, out of the box, TV gig where you were able to call up your parents and say, Mom, I'm going to be on Channel 5 on Tuesday night at 8:00. What was your first one?
So actually, my very first TV gig. So I went to drama school in London and finished in 1987 and booked my first TV job in London for London Weekend Television in 1987 on a show called The Night Network. So imagine, if you will, MTV is relatively new. And I was a VJ, and I was, and I put the needle on, and so I created this character called the Axeman, very loosely based on early Howard Stern. So Howard Stern, no one even knew who Howard Stern was except for our producer. And I got some clips of him, and I didn't imitate him at all. But his name came up when we were talking about the character a little bit, just that just a little irreverent. And I would write my own segments, and I would put the needle on a record, and you'd see you'd see a video. And the greatest part about that gig, besides that it paid money and it was in England, was that it also the perks were just amazing. I went to see concerts, great seats at concerts all over London in the late 80s. and the music scene in the late 80s in London was as good as the music scene has ever been anywhere on the planet. So that was great. And then I came back to the States and couldn't get shot. You know,
of course.
I couldn't get any work. I was a social worker. I painted sets. I went back to England for a little while. And so my first TV gig, because it was my first play. So I did a couple of plays. And
that doesn't count. Your mother can't. I go by what can your mother and your friends, because remember this is pre-internet. You actually had to call up your friends and say, I'm going to be on TV.
My cared about plays. they like theater. No. So anyway, but the first TV gig was Law and Order.
Now, was it Jerry Orbach Law and Order?
It was Law and Order, what they call Flagship. And
was it the first season?
What?
First season? First season of Law and Order? Or no, it could have been. Yeah, Law and Order's been on. Law and Order came on with Banachek,
but not that long. I mean, you have the IMDb page. I don't even know, but it was. I was.
My printer doesn't work that well.
And I had hair at the time, and I was playing a young Jewish man who was in charge of a Jewish singles cruise.
Wow.
And
so you were playing a gay Jewish man? Perfect for that. You're perfect.
No, I wasn't gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
so you don't. I made no intonation about that. I just was saying.
But it was that cold open. You know those cold opens. So it starts on me, and I'm being interviewed by the cops, and there's a dead body, and they sprayed down the pier, and it was like cold. And this poor background actress is on the ground dead in the wet, and they were not taking care of her at all. And this poor girl was like freezing, and finally they had to get they had to find a way to warm her up. They didn't have those little warmy things at the time.
Right. No, back then it was like old school.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to the Law and Order universe, and I've done altogether. I've done, I want to say 13 Law and Orders.
Wow. Yeah. You got me beat. I've done 6 or 7.
Well, that's my goal.
SVUs. I know. But
I don't even really want to be an actor. I just want to get more work than you.
Well, here's the beautiful thing. If Jeffrey and I are going in for the same role, the casting director's really bad. I can't think of what I've watched your work and you're awesome. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do it. Just like I don't think you could have played third base in beer league. So we never are right for each other. But the best part about Jeff, well, 2 things I want to get to. First of all, a lot of people are going to remember this. Maybe Chris will as well. You were on, forget about your TV and film work. You've done a ton of that. Daredevil and stuff like that. But your Charmin commercials were
not Charmin.
Schmuck.
Not Charmin.
What was it called?
Kleenex.
What was it? Kleenex. Charmin, Kleenex, same shit. Listen, I know that paid half your house, but Jeff was the guy sitting on the couch with the Kleenex. Sorry.
I was the good listener.
We're live here. And you were listeing on the couch. Chris, do you remember those spots with the guys in the middle of the intersection?
So it was
so it's funny. So I did I can tell you, I did.
How many spots did you do?
So they only
like 20?
They created about 7 spots, but there was also this whole, we had 15 or 16 different things on like little web spots. But I also did live interviews and was on like CBS morning show. I would do these events, and I interviewed Santa Claus at the Mall of America.
That's great.
And during the
now, Chris, you remember the spots?
I do.
The guy
of course.
on the couch?
I did.
It was like the version of the Mayhem commercial with the Allstate. It had like a recurring thing. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. Yeah.
I did over 900 interviews.
That's awesome.
It was insane.
You must have been paid very well on that.
Thank you.
Yes, and even though you
after
had to,
that, so I can tell you after that. So I don't know if you remember. If you remember the commercials, you never really saw my face that much. It was usually them, right? So the back of my head, or maybe the side of my head,
Right.
and them. No beard either. So on the streets of New York or wherever I was, I'd get this. Like they think they recognize me, but nah. Like,
right,
you go to
which was a
college
good
together?
thing for. Well, you know what though? That's technically a good thing though, because had you been Mr. Kleenex, you wouldn't have been able to maybe at the time back in the day. You know, people now you can do anything, but back then you would have been maybe pigeonholed, and if the campaign goes away, you're known as a Kleenex.
Yeah, I mean, you're not seeing. I'm sure she's okay with this, but you're not seeing Flo on TV and TV or film.
Well, because she produces the spot. She's a
Right,
multi-millionaire.
but you're not seeing her doing other stuff. You're not seeing the guy who was "Can You Hear Me Now?" You're not seeing him in film or TV.
They actually did a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode about this with Jason Alexander, where he was struggling to break the mold of George
to get worked. Yep, that happened. I mean, I know when I did my commercial with Peyton Manning, people were swearing that I'm a backup quarterback for the Jaguars. I was like, no, I could, but I'm too old. You know, nothing but a shitty Peyton Manning. But I worked with Peyton twice. That's my claim to fame. And so listen, Kleenex spot. But now let me ask you one more thing. I want to talk about how about the best part when you live in the same town and you got to get up in the morning, say you have 2 or 3 auditions, especially this is pre-pandemic shit. And you get on the train. Usually Jeff always got in earlier than I did, but on the way home, sometimes on those hot New York City days, you know, maybe one of us had a bad audition, trying to deal with our families and make it all together.
Just so you know, only you had bad auditions, Jimmy.
Oh, you know what? First of all,
I may have had bad days. Only you had bad auditions.
Oh, you see that? First of all, I always like a couple of 3-pointers late to cover the spread, but we'd be on the train. It would be hot, and we'd be just like totally spent because it costs you, $25, $30 going to the city. You audition, and guys like me and Jeff always stop at the diner, get lunch. It's like, okay, what a good business thing. Lose $60 and then perform in front of some person, and then come home with no money to show for it. And and your booking ratio is it's like baseball batting averages. Of course, I'd be more like Joey Gallo. You'd be more like Judge. But it just was. And you're on the train, and it's just. I mean, tell me about. I love talking to actors about like that, just that grind of like, especially when you go like 0 for 8 on auditions, or you don't get any auditions. It's like the worst feeling in the world.
I remember when I first got a commercial agent. I was first with Abrams, and these were the days of like a ridiculous number of auditions. Like I'd have 7 in a day.
Right. I came in just after that. I'd have 2
auditions, and like I'd have weeks of like 20 something auditions, and you're wiped out, and you're going between places. You're carrying an entire suitcase. So that's that struggle. I remember ruining a suit in the subway of New York because it was like 130 degrees in the subway, and I sweat through my Joseph Abood suit.
I love that you said the brand. See, that's why Jeff.
Flash forward.
I would have said I ruined my Men's Warehouse suit.
Flash forward. To
Chris doesn't even have a suit.
Where you don't go anywhere for auditions.
Well, you're right. I remember
if you have 3 auditions in a week. That's a boom week.
I feel like we're all in a black hole of showbiz because you don't like. All my friends in showbiz I met 6 years ago because the new ones or the new casting people, I don't know what they look like. I don't know. If I submit something to a casting director, I don't, you don't know, is she a pain in the ass? Is she sweet? Is she nice? You're in this black hole.
Casting directors are pains in the ass, Jimmy.
Jeffrey.
They're all great. All casting
They're all great.
Are awesome.
Listen, you know what I mean? They don't want you sending them emails, that kind of thing. But it's listen, don't tell me just because you can't go into Beth Melsky anymore. Do not put that. Wow. Jimmy Palumbo getting involved with it. Oh, that's not true. Jeff books tons of work. But listen, you're right. Also, even if you weren't making money in showbiz, you were moving, like going to auditions. You felt like you felt better about yourself. It would be, Chris, the only way to describe it is if, like, how about if you had to do 8, 9 podcasts a day, 10, 12, like every day, different ones every week? You felt like you were doing podcasts, and all of a sudden it gets reduced to like one, and you do it and you don't ever get to hear it. It's like you put it out there. So it was like, I remember, like, even now doing the voiceovers from home with the mic and everything, you just, there's no one telling you, okay, Jimmy, slow it down, speed it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're on your own.
I agree. I mean, I love having the input. And I kind of miss that, you know. You were talking about actors like us. And one has these conversations from time to time, that I'm still able to do my favorite thing ever, and make money doing it is super fortunate. You know, I think the whole notion of job security, now that doctors can get fired, like once you can fire a doctor, there's no such thing as job security, you know?
Right.
And I think that the longer you and I can stay in this, the longer we can stay in it, right? So our willingness to stay in it and increases the likelihood that we'll stay in it for even longer, because there is attrition. Look, during the strikes, you know, we had the strike, we had pandemic. I mean, I know people who lost their homes. I know people who just had to give it up. I knew people had to move out of town. And so, yeah, I'm still feeling pretty fortunate.
I got very, during the commercial strike years ago, I got lucky because I happened to book stuff just before the strike, some VO stuff for Mercedes and this, that, and the other thing. And so during the time of the strike, I had checks coming in. You know, I just got a little lucky with the timing of that. And it lasted even after the strike ended.
Yeah,
and,
I think, you know, so
it was a rut. Now, between that and the pandemic, that was like, those are some rough, I had to make some decisions.
Look, I don't recommend this to anybody. Like, I don't recommend that you become an actor. I would never say, yeah, you know, you have all these things to choose from. If it's not a vocation for you and you're not driven to do it and you don't get joy out of doing it, then don't do it. If you want to get famous, don't do it, you know?
I know, it's something not talked about. Like, everybody talks about sometimes actors and celebrities, they get caught up in drugs or alcohol and stuff like that. And sometimes even worse things that they, but
I'm not famous enough to afford them, because otherwise, of course, I would do them.
But well, I know you can afford a little tequila on the side there, Jeffrey.
Okay,
but
tequila.
I think
that's medicinal, bro. It's medicinal.
Medicinal. Okay, I have my Johnny Walker Black to get me through when the Yankees blow a game. But I think what's not talked about, the acting, people talk about, you get the actors are wacky and all that stuff. And there's some that are, but most of them are, just jerks like you and I trying to make a go of it. And I think what's not discussed a lot is the personal toll, not drugs and alcohol. It's the personal toll on your, initially on your mother and father, who have to watch you dive into a business. It's almost like you're watching your kid dive into a pool of snakes, hoping that they can get to the other side. And then when you have a married life, children and marriage and kids and all that, the showbiz can take a tremendous toll on you personally and your family life. Your family, it's hard. It's hard. It really is.
Well, I think that so I'll push back a little bit. I don't think that there's anything unique about the toll of acting on somebody any more than people who are lawyers who are working, 13-hour days, or bankers who are, are talking to Abu Dhabi and Boston at the same time. I think the difference is, and I don't know if this is how you feel, is there seems to be an abyss of understanding, a lack of understanding that auditioning, which doesn't pay you money, is work. That there's an intellectual and emotional commitment you have to make that requires time to prep. That it's not just going in and performing. It's not about that at all. That it takes the same amount of time and energy to get yourself prepared for an audition or a role, and that you're not given, people don't have boundaries around that. You're not given, certainly by certain people in my life, you were not given the respect. And that's actually worse here in the States, because to be honest, anybody here can call themselves an actor. Like, you just say, I'm an actor, you're an actor. And when I was living in London, you only could call yourself an actor if you got trained. I mean, the reason I went and got trained is because I was raised by, my dad's a doctor, and he went to medical school, and I knew lawyers, and they went to law school, and I knew business people, they went to business school. So I'm an actor, I go to acting school, like that. Like, of course, you have to get better at what you do. You have to learn what is not intuitive and what is not art. There's parts of it that are a craft, that are learnable. And it was important to me that I tracked it as a professional. And I came back to the States, and one can almost forgive those who don't respect what we do, because a lot of actors themselves haven't earned the respect and don't respect it themselves.
Well, I think
actors.
I think also people with acting, they think, well, that was your choice. Like, so if a plumber has a bad year and he loses some, it's like, oh, well, you're a plumber, that's cool. But when you're an actor, it's like, oh, well, you chose to do that. And especially when you have a body of work, you don't get to say, well, yeah, but I've been on, this is what I do. I make a decent buck some years.
Yeah. Look, it's also, look, I have insurance. I have a pension. Our union isn't a union; it's a guild. So I don't have a hiring hall. I have to still compete with my.
Although that would be great if there was a hiring hall, wouldn't there? We would just go hang out down at the hall.
So, but people just don't understand. They just don't. Even people who I know and love and who care about me, they don't understand. I mean, I'm in the middle of shooting a movie right now, and I work Wednesdays through Sundays, 12-hour days. It's my first lead in a feature, and I couldn't be happier. But it's awesome work, man. It is hard work to keep up your energy. I mean, as the main actor, I've never been number one on a call sheet for a feature film. And as the main actor, I mean, I love doing it, and I am boundless energy. I'm definitely an energizer.
For those who don't know, just for those who don't know what he means by that, on the call sheet they list the names of the actors in the movie, and it'll say like number one, say George Clooney or something, or whatever, and then it goes all the way down. And then so Jeff, for the first time on this film, was the number one actor.
Yeah, I am.
So the highest I ever got was in beer league. I was ranked 5th in the country. But
it requires, a level of energy and intent and commitment in that space, in that moment in time, throughout the freaking day. And I'd like to see anybody, my dad, who's still a practicing physician at the age of 85, his office closes for an hour for lunch. I'm eating and learning lines in a little room,
right?
Like,
so trailer. I know. Yep.
Hold on one second. Anyway, so
is that your agent calling? With
it's my agent saying, "Why are you talking shit about me?" Anyway, but
don't worry.
And about that too, one of the reasons, the other thing I think that's helping me or has helped me stay in, I've been represented my entire career. I never really had a period where I had no agent. For a while, I had a lot of different agents. I've been with the same manager, Kat Segworth, with Bohemia, is just terrific and has been a champion of mine for many years. And I'm now with KMR across the board, and their fans, and that kind of support is also like, to get it's one thing for your family to support you, right? And that's not a little thing. Like, that's a big thing. Like, if you're battling and with my, with, again, a certain significant other, that battle was pretty consistent about her lack of respect for what it took for me to do what I had to do. But it certainly is great having familial support, but having professional support and respect is also hugely important. I mean, what we do is really this internal thing. Like, if you don't have that engine that has the confidence to say, I can do this. Like, I know what I'm doing. It's not arrogance, it's confidence. I'm not the best actor. I'm not the worst actor. I'm an actor, a working actor. I know what I'm doing. This is my process. But to have somebody on the outside then saying, And I like watching that. Like and getting enough roles where like I was having this conversation with my mother. Like, it doesn't take a lot. Like, you give me one juicy role in a year, I'm good. Like, I'm good for the year.
I know what you mean.
I'll go build websites for the rest of the year. I'm like, I had my thing. And it's been
there's nothing better. There's nothing better than hearing from another actor or friend that they see on some movie or a TV show. And then they always say like, oh my God, it's really cool to see him. And I get that. But sometimes people are like, hey man, that scene was really cool. And all of a sudden, like just that 3-line sentence from somebody, and it could be some guy at the deli and you're flying high for a week.
Yeah, I can tell you, first of all, doing it for me is always better than whatever accolades I might get. But I have to say, Daredevil is really the first time I've ever had fans that I'm aware of. I may have had some fans, but Daredevil is the first time so we were talking about professional respect and support. I've had that for a while, but suddenly with Daredevil, I'm doing Comic-Cons. And Daredevil, I'm having people ask me for my autograph and pay me for my autograph. And at first I remember thinking, and I had the conversation with Deborah Ann Wall, who is also in Daredevil. And we were saying like, it feels funky. Like if it's a little exploitative of me, it's a little disingenuous of me with the fans. And when after I did my first one, and I realized that these are people who had really invested so much, like this show means something to them. They invested themselves into it. They know more about my character than I know. And to give back to
I get that with beer league sometimes.
I never thought that I'd have fans and it makes one very humble. There's one kid, this is such a sweet story. I was down in Nashville, and a young man, now realize Daredevil first started airing in 2015. So this is 7 years ago, right? And this young man is in a wheelchair, like college age, comes to my table, and I'm why he came. Now this Comic-Con down in Nashville is a very Star Wars heavy Comic-Con. It's the ICC con. It's great, but it's very Star Wars heavy. And this one guy saw I was going to be there and showed up just for me because my show has a superhero with a disability. Wow. And my show is why this young man who started watching it a long time ago then goes through college or goes through high school and decides to become a lawyer because this superhero with disabilities is a lawyer. It blew my mind. So
there's no doubt.
And like, it wasn't about me at all, but that the show had that much impact. You don't know. The beauty part about art in general, like we don't know who we're impacting. And if you're an artist and you have to have a level of humility and understand that you can never know what kind of impact you're having on the people who are observing the work you're doing, because you don't know what their backstory is. You don't know what their front story is. You don't know when in their life they saw the show. It may not even be about you, but you're part of a collective of an art piece that impacted them. And it was real. It's been really amazing. So, all of those things, you put those things together, Jimmy, and like that is a really positive thing about a very difficult business. That's a hugely positive thing about a business that just sucks ass.
Well, Jeffrey Cantor at jeffreycantor.com. It's got a big movie coming up called Jane. Stick with us for right now. Just hang with us for a second. I got a sponsor to read. Okay.
Oh, boy.
It's Pine Tar Bar and Grill, 121 South Main Street, Forked River, New Jersey, 609-489-4286. They're open from 11:30 a.m. to close. You got to check this, please. If you ever go down.
What's the name of it again?
Pine Tar Bar and Grill in Forked River. You thought I said River.
I'm writing this down.
You would love this place. It's got all
kind of
owned by my buddy Tommy. It's got every game. They got more televisions. They know what to do with. They're big at college football, pro football. They got karaoke, beer pong, bands, indoor, outdoor, all kinds of stuff. Go down and check out. They're down in the Forked River. It's down by LBI. Go check it out. You'll love this place. I guarantee it. And we're going to discuss a couple of things. First of all, my daughter had a Halloween party last week. I had at Natalie's mom's house, 17, 13-year-old girls bouncing around, eating candy, throwing stuff all over the place. They were all very sweet, but it was just.
Did you have a piñata?
We had throw spiders on the wall kind of thing. We had competitions. We set up teams. The girls were really competitive about it. It was awesome.
What'd she dress up as?
Well, they came from dance, so everybody was only dressed in like Halloween pajamas. There was no full-blown costumes. I had a shirt that said, instead of daddy, it said Deddy, and her mom had one that said Mummy. So we were Mummy and Deddy, which, God bless. It was a great time. It was just crazy to have these girls. They're like, guys break things, but girls litter. Like there was candy corns on the floor in areas. It was like there was makeup mixed in with candy. How did that? Like it was just mayhem. But they had an absolute blast. It was fun. Just a shout out to my daughter. She had a blast, and she's got a really cool role in the Nutcracker coming up on November 19th and 20th, which looks like I will have a part in. And so that's just a little shout out.
Wait. Don't you run over this one.
The Nutcracker?
Have a part. Wait a minute. I want clarity. I want some clarity. So let's rewind. So Nutcracker, starring Jimmy Palumbo.
No, not starring. I play one of the in the party scene. You're familiar with the Nutcracker. I play one of the dads, and I do have to do a little kind of dance, a little serenade with one of the other moms.
Jimmy Palumbo back on stage. Everybody, hi. This is Jeffrey Tanner.
Coming.
I just want a little shout out to Jimmy Palumbo, who will be appearing in the Nutcracker as a father. Not only can he
from downtown Oakland, New Jersey,
podcast, but Jimmy Palumbo can dance. Jimmy Palumbo is now the premier ballerina.
I would not say I'm dancing. I just do a little kind of spin move. It's all about the kids dancing. Don't get me wrong.
We'll call it a jiggle. We'll call it a little jiggle.
All, yeah, but just
I think this is going at the top of your resume.
Well, first of all, if it was you doing this role, this on top of the marquee would say Jeffrey Cantor presents the Nutcracker. But I'm a little more humble than you are.
Hello. I'm not a producer.
All right. So I'm going to be in the Nutcracker.
Jimmy's like,
of course, I'm going to miss the.
I can just imagine Jimmy. You'll be at casting director. Like, so Jimmy, when was the last time you were on stage? Well, I remember when I did the Nutcracker.
That's right. I'm performing the Nutcracker.
I remember I did the Nutcracker. It was a tour de force.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, Chris, have you watched The Watcher at all, TV show?
I watched the first episode last night, and guess what? My brother lives like 4 houses away.
Right.
That's crazy. My brother lives on the block. There was newscasters
I'm from that area.
Yesterday.
That's from we grew up down around there. I actually hate the show. It was too like
I saw one episode, so I can't say I don't like the show, but it was just like I'm not really into the horror stuff at all. So
I watched 3, but it was like half comedy, half horror, half. I actually watched 3 episodes. I was like, oh my God. I just went right to the last episode and just said, what the hell happens to this family? I was like, and even the ending was like, what? Because nothing, they still don't know what happened there. Bobby Cannavale was great. Mia Farrow. Yes, Jeffrey.
I'm just wondering, what, you didn't like the show?
No, did you?
I didn't watch the show, but I'm also not talking about it on. So is there a show that you like?
Tons of shows. Huh? Game of Thrones, House of Dragons.
Like, why'd you pick up one show that like you're not liking?
Well, because it's kind of a hot topic now, Jeff.
Is it?
What am I going to do? Talk? Well, when I was in London studying at the London School of the Arts, I'm going to talk about London all day. See, could be the beauty of the show. So when Jimmy Palumbo goes after his guests, that could be fun. I love you anyway, Jeffrey. Well, House of Dragons. I was not digging House of Dragons either, even though I was addicted to it because I love Game of Thrones. But this last episode, Chris, did you watch it?
Of House of Dragons?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't see it.
Okay. I won't give anything away, but I'm just saying it finally became like Game of Thrones. I was like, oh, this show's
I thought
on
you were
now.
I thought you were about to ruin
No,
it.
I would never do that. Also, in my life, this is a shout out to all the mechanics in the world because I got my car fixed and it cost me $1,300. I sent the bill to Jeff Cantor, but he didn't pay it, so I had to pay it myself.
Send it to my ex.
Is there anything? Yeah.
Yes, send it to my ex. He's got all my money.
There's a big shout out to my I find it funny. My mechanic's name is Fabian, which is the name you don't hear much, and he's an awesome mechanic in downtown Mahwah, and he got the job done. I also have to do a little shout out here, and we got to end this show. This is a long one. Rutgers basketball starts in a little bit. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Mark Margagliata, who lives in Allendale, right next door. Big Rutgers basketball fan. He thinks they're going to be very, very good. I'm a little more cautious. I think they're going to be just okay. They'll be fighting for an NIT spot with, say, 6-7 games to go. He thinks they got this kid, Cam Spencer, is going to change it. I don't know. So I got to give a shout out to my boy Googs. And listen, we went an hour and 10 minutes, a little long, but that's because we had the great Jeff Cantor. Oh, by the way, you know what? I was just going to show this kid. No one can even see this. I got an Isabel Sanford star from the Walk of Fame. Jeff, you have to laugh at this. Wheezy from the Jeffersons. I went to her. I don't know why. It just was sitting on my desk right here. I went to her Walk of Fame ceremony years ago in 2004, and they gave these out. Have you ever been to a Walk of Fame ceremony where you were behind the podium? I got one from Isabel Sanford, right? It's probably a collector's item. I can probably make money on this. My dear friend Henry Pollack invited me. She was friends with her. And I went to a Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony. Is that something you've done, Jeff?
Jimmy, when I get mine, I promise to invite you, and you can do a podcast on there.
Yes, I'm going to invite the entire Isabel Sanford family to mine. All right, everybody. Listen, Jeffrey, thank you so much. Chris Gucci behind the glass as always. Hopefully your Packers will win. Let's go Yankees at 4:00. And listen, God bless. And I will be on next week with a very special guest. But I've been having very special guests, so that joke doesn't even work anymore.
I'll see you next week, Jimmy.
Yeah, see that? He's my new go-to guy when my other guest bails on me. That's it. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Bye,
and stay on the
everybody.
line for 1 second. I'll talk to you. Peace.